discussion on this weekend's upcoming fight, Billy Joe Saunders versus Canelo Alvarez. First and foremost, we've seen some issues today with regards to the ring. There's been some issues in previous weeks with regards to the judging. You're probably as well informed as anybody, having had a fight, a box over in Texas, where of course that fight is taking place in the pandemic as well, instead of kind of pre-pandemic times. Yeah. What do you make of those kind of issues that have arisen in the last couple of weeks with regards to the judging and the ring size?
Well, ring is a really important one. So the size of the ring, I remember we had I think it was in New York, Dad was out there marching across and like getting the tape measure out to make sure it was like 2 centimeters away from being 20 foot on the inside. It was like 19, whatever it was. So we had to bring the ropes back, but that was in the contract. So these things are normally stipulated in the contract if you're doing things properly. But it plays a big part. In the UK, you can't have bigger than a 22-foot ring on the inside. It used to be 24. It now brought down to 22, but at the same time, you could box in a world title fight in a 16-foot ring. But now it's 18 is the minimum. So I think George versus Groves versus Froch too was like a 16-foot ring on the inside or something. So, and then that it plays a part, especially with the guy that's the boxer that's going to be being put under pressure. Canelo isn't a guy that's just going to be walking you down all the time. He does it sensibly, but if he can shut the ring off and cut the ring off and shut you down as quickly as possible, then you're fighting at 5-10% more pace than you want to be. Those later rounds, they can really be affected. So, for me, that's something. If I was Billy Joe, I would really, really stipulate. I would try and get the biggest ring possible. Obviously, within within what Canelo wants to go for. But
sorry to interrupt. That stuff you mentioned a couple of minutes ago about it being usually stipulated in the contract. Do you think that would have been part of the contract for this fight of this magnitude? You would have to expect it.
100% it would. Now, if Billy Joe's saying, I'll box him in whatever, and then actually when it comes to crunch time, it's like, oh wait, there's an 18-foot ring there, or there's a 16-foot ring. No, I don't want to box him in that. I want to box him in a 24-foot ring. The Olympic-sized ring is a 24-foot ring. I remember boxing in the National Stadium, and I looked across at my opponent, and I could hardly see him. I thought, wow, like it's massive. Especially being the pressure fighter, you want a small ring. So I don't know what's gone on there. You would normally make that, make those things like bulletproof in the contract. So, what was the other issue?
The judging, not having not having a British judge or not having neutral judging.
Yeah. So when Frampton boxed in El Paso, same thing. We didn't have, because that's in part of Texas. We didn't have a British judge when, and he was defending his world title. When Luke boxed in Dallas as well, we had a British representative from the Border Control, but that means sweet diddly squat. Do you know what I mean? You want someone that's the judge, but then it's up to us. I mean, we stipulated what judges we wanted. We didn't want a judge from California, so we made sure that we got as many neutral judges as possible. And then you have to just make sure you could trust the officials. And Texas are a good sort of outfit. They do things right. They're good on the hand wraps. They don't let you stack. They're good with the water. They drug test you beforehand. They're good with the water. They don't let you have electrolytes in your water. They don't let you have Gatorade. Where in like the Nevada state, you're allowed like all of that stuff. They don't allow you to have caffeine in the change rooms either. So they're really on it. It's like, I think the guy that runs it is like an old. He's like an old police officer or something like that. So he's like super, super strict. So, you're going to get a fair shake out there. It's just whether you can beat Canelo Alvarez or not. I don't think you can.
Eddie Hearn getting a bad rap or getting a lot of stick for it. Just your thoughts on that, really. Of course, he's somewhat compromised in being in the position of, promoting both men, which I'm sure isn't an easy situation for him. But, I mean, you mentioned there about kind of the contract. Do you think Eddie may be taking a bit of unfair stick on this one?
Definitely. He delivered the fight that Billy Joe Saunders didn't get. He was with Frank Warren for years. The biggest fight he got with Warren was Andy Lee. Yeah. And he got Eubank Jr., which was the two. He moved across, and he's got the fight that everyone... I mean, you've got Caleb Plant there, you've got Benavidez, you've got the Charlo brothers, you've got loads of people that want that fight. Everybody in boxing wants that fight, and he's got it literally served up on a plate, and he's complaining. Like, do you know what I mean? I mean, you're not going to be the A side. You don't have 8 million Instagram followers. You're not getting paid 35 million a fight. Before that, he's getting paid, you know what I mean? Like a lot less than that. So you can't go into a fight that's generating all of this money and then go out there and say, "Give me, where's my sort of everything has to be. You're my promoter. You have to be sort of singing my praises and fuck Canelo." It's like, no, he's the promoter. He promotes both of you guys. Like, the one that's going to be making the most money, that's just the way it is. Like, you know, Dylan White versus AJ. Eddie promotes AJ. Obviously, he's the one that's bringing in the revenue. But then look at the back of what Dylan White's now done off the back of that, because he gave a good account of himself and now he's a pay-per-view star. So that's the way boxing is. You have to be thick-skinned, and he will get a fair shake. He's just going out there moaning. Maybe it's a preempted excuse.
You mentioned about the fight and not necessarily giving Billy Joe Saunders a chance. How do you think it plays out?
I think Billy Joe is a very, very skillful boxer. He's very elusive, but I just don't think he has the punching power to keep him off. And even someone like Lara, that was a long time ago when he had that flat performance. But Lara can still crack a little bit, and I don't think Billy Joe can. So I see it going 8 to 10 rounds. Canelo will stop him.
Do you think the weight makes a difference? Billy Joe Saunders was never really the biggest middleweight. He's now up at 168 pounds, kind of flattered to deceive in fights there. It's Shifat Sufi, Martin Murray, Caceres, who he boxed on the KSI Logan Paul undercard. It's been a while since that David Lemieux performance all those years ago in Canada.
Yeah, but Canelo's small, so it's like he's not gotten he's not at a disadvantage because he's at a weight division that he shouldn't be at, because Canelo really shouldn't be at 168. You know, he's a 160 pounder, like a max really. But his skills are able to compete with the 175 guys against Kovalev and 168 against Callum Smith. So, I just think they're like Billy Joe's going to be the bigger guy in there. He's the guy that's coming down from 14.5, 15 stone to make super middleweight. I know that's down to ill discipline, but he still puts that sort of weight on. And Canelo, we saw him out in Dallas. He's tiny. He's not much bigger than Joshy P, who used to be a featherweight. I'm being serious. He's not much bigger size-wise. He's obviously thick-set, but he's small. So I don't think the size is going to be an issue. I just think it's going to be down to power and and quality.
Okay. Well, Shane McGuigan, always a pleasure to catch up with you. Thanks very much for speaking to Boxing Social. I will let you go back in and do your job now. But yeah, always a pleasure. I'm sure I'll catch up with you soon.
Thanks, Rob, once again for coming down, mate. Always enjoy having you down, even when you're not in your sliders today? There you go. You've upped your game.
I'm going to start dressing like an adult now, I think.
It's about time you got a kid, mate.